Welcome back, Orioles fans. This is episode 7, I believe, of our Baltimore Orioles Rebuild and Out of the Park Baseball 22. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit subscribe. Turn that bell notification on so you stay up to date with brand new content on this channel, whether it's Orioles Rebuild and OOTP, some MLB The Show content starting next week, or just any kind of sports video game material. We're going to be talking about it right here. But we're here to talk about Orioles baseball, okay? Specifically, we're going to talk about some games we simulated off screen, getting us all the way up to the middle of June. And we're also going to talk about our all-star ballot selections and how they compare with the rest of the media, as well as managers and just where they stand in terms of the voting so far. Now, as you can see by our record there, things aren't doing too well here. So going to quickly kind of go over our schedule since we last talked, and I'm going to kind of go over the stats of our players. And then we're going to go into our all-star picks and why we picked them, and we're going to end there. We're not going to do any games today. Our next video, Monday, we will be doing a game with the Tampa Bay Rays, the first place Rays in the AL East. So you have that to look forward to. But in the meantime, let's talk about our simulation and then our all-star picks. We left on our loss against the White Sox, the 4-9 loss here. We ended up winning the final game, so we split the series with the White Sox, so not too bad. Minnesota, we ended up getting shut out there, so, I mean, it seems to be a reoccurring theme, which you're going to see here and again. Minnesota, we ended up winning our game 2, 9-7, but we lost the series as we lost game 3, 2-4. We led the series off against the Indians with a win, but we ended up losing the next 4 overall. But let's take a look at our win against the Indians here. We won this game 4-2, did all of our damage on the later half of the game. Take a look at our players here. We had some pinch hitting going on here, which I don't think this works the way this game is making it work, because I believe if you pinch hit for a designated hitter, your pitcher comes in at that point. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's how it works. Take a look at our offensive line scores here. Austin Hayes 1 for 3. Average is under 300. Speaking of under 300, we're looking at Mountcastle, who's at a 1 for 4. Santander is at a 10 home runs, 37 RBI count. That is not bad for power numbers at this point in the season. Home runs, Mountcastle, however, that one hit was a home run, his 7th of the season. Trey Mancini also had a double as well. So he's doing not too bad. I don't think he's going to garner us anything like Spencer Torkelson, which is what we were hoping for at the beginning of this series, but he might be someone worth a trade near the trade deadline to someone who needs that extra piece to continue their push. Otherwise, we might consider re-signing him too. We just re-signed Freddie Galvis, so we can definitely use Galvis and Mancini as cornerstones of our team. I'm definitely interested in possibly looking into that possibility, so we'll consider it in the weeks to come. Take a look at our pitching staff. Zach Lothar got the win. He's been doing pretty good since being called up. We'll look at him in a moment. Just 2 hits allowed in 7 innings, 1 earned run. Just walked 1 and struck out 7. ERA is a little higher than I hoped for. Tanner Scott had 14 saves. Something else that happened in the meantime while we did our simulation, we did get our new trainer hired. Currently, we have not gotten any injuries since he's been hired, so good news there. He accepted our contract offer. And speaking of injuries, the Dark Knight Hunter Harvey has been officially activated from the injured list, and he's been sent to AAA Norfolk for a rehab assignment. So we should probably see him around the time of the All-Star break, if not a little after that. Hopefully back with our club, and he'll be in the bullpen. The game has him set as a reliever. We're going to keep him there. But take a look at the rest of our schedule here. Things just didn't go well here. Loss against Cleveland in game 2 and 3. And then we got shut out by the Mets in the first game. And then game 2 of that 2-game set went to extras and we lost 6-8. So we gave up 2 runs in the 10th inning. Check it out. Looks like it was a 2-run home run for McNeil. And we're going to be talking about McNeil in a few moments because he is having a stellar season for sure. For us, though, Trey Mancini had his 10th home run of the season. Tyler Nevin had his 5th. And take a look at our pitching. John Means went 6 1/3, gave up 9 hits, allowed 6 runs, struck out 5. Not too bad. His ERA is a lot higher than we want it to be. And then Tanner Scott kind of blew the hold there, which is unfortunate. I mean, we scored 4 in the 8th to come back, and then we ended up losing here in the 10th, which is always a heartbreaker. So let's take a look at our stats for our club and how they've been doing. Take a look at our hitting stats first, batting stats. Start with our home run leaders. We got Santander and Stewart tied at 11 home runs apiece. And Mancini's not too far behind with 10. Austin Hayes is heating up. He's on a hot streak. He's got 7 home runs. Batting .270, not bad. In terms of our best batters, Lothar, He's hitting pretty well. 2 for 2. Remember that game we had him, and we did that with us while we were doing that on screen. Severino having a great season. We're going to talk about him in a little bit. 318 average. Yomer Sanchez at 302, not bad, and then it falls off after that. 296 is the closest to 300. Look at our on-base percentages. Severino and Galvis are neck and neck at 382 and 362. Those are a little lower than I hoped for as our leading. Lothar aside. Slugging 435 for Severino. Nevin leads the team in the slugging with 508. And then with OPS, Trey Mancini leads with an 826, which not great, not bad, just kind of middle of the road. So take a look at our wins above replacement. We don't have anyone astonishing anyone. Freddie Galvis is at 1.4. Take a look at our pitching here. Take a look at our ERA to start things off here. This is probably, we're going to have to filter these guys out because we need to make sure that we're only dealing with pitchers here. All pitchers. Perfect. Okay. That looks better. Our best ERA comes from Sean Armstrong, who has 38 innings pitched and a 1.89. He's striking out 36, so his walks hits per inning is only at 1, so that's really good. Home runs per 9 is 0.9. Could be worse. Could be better. Walks per 9, our leader, or rather not leader, is Kevin Smith, who has 7.9 walks per 9 innings pitched. That is terrible. Terrible. 17 walks in those 19 innings he's pitched. Strikeout leaders, 9.8 belongs to Tanner Scott and Kevin Smith. Those two are in our setup and closer roles, so it should be about where you're at. And then our strikeout and walks per ratio is John Means leading at 7.7. Our wins above replacement over here, this ain't good. John Means has a 1.0, and it's under 1 after that. Not doing too great there. Take a look at the overall standings in Major League Baseball, which we're not doing that great. We've lost 3 of our last 7, lost 4 in a row. It's a shame because now the Rays are continuing to pull away from everyone. The Red Sox, Yankees, they're under 500. This entire division's under 500 except the Rays. Take a look at the Central. The White Sox are barely holding on to their lead. When I was simming, they were back and forth between the wild card spot and the AL Central lead. They've won 5 in a row, so that's helped out a lot, obviously. Tigers at the bottom of the barrel here, 25 and 38. That's worse in the American League, and we're not too far away from them. We're 27-34. They're 25 and 38. Angels currently have a half-game lead on the Mariners. Not bad. Not bad at all. Astros are 2.5 back, and they're under 500. Take a look at the AL wild card. We find ourselves 5 games out. This is starting to slowly pull away. We've been sitting in about 2-game spot in terms of how many we've been back every time we've simulated, and it's starting to pull away as we continue to lose more games. Look on the National League side of things, the Braves and Phillies and the Mets all are separated by just 2.5 games. It's a pretty tight division race there as well. The Cardinals leading the NL Central. This doesn't surprise me all that much. They are currently above the Brewers by 2 games, and the Cubs, my Cubs, are dead last 10 games behind in the NL Central. And the Dodgers, the only team looks like to have not lost 20 games yet, 45 and 17, as they are 6 games above the Padres, who are doing fantastic at 40 and 24. 40 and 24 would leave every division but the AL East and the NL West. And it's unfortunate for them. They happen to be in one of those divisions. They do have the wild card spot, obviously, and they have a 2.5 game lead over the Phillies with that respect. All right, and let's talk about our all-star voting, which is why you're here for this specific episode. I'm going to kind of give you my picks here, and if I have any reasons to kind of tell you why or defend them, I'm going to. Otherwise, it's just going to be, well, just look at the stats. You can see them on screen as well. So starting things off from the Chicago White Sox, Lucas Giolito, 8-3 record, 2.75 ERA, 0.89 walks hits per innings pitched, an astounding 11.3 strikeouts per 9, and a WAR at 2.2. Fantastic job from him so far in the first half of the season. Garrett Cole is my second pick here. I mentioned him the other day when I was kind of just giving you some random hypotheticals here. 8-2 record. Again, records aren't everything, but he has a 3.24 ERA, a 1.10 walks hits per innings pitch, 10.7 K per 9, and a 1.9 WAR. After that, we go to Shohei Ohtani for obvious reasons. He's a dual threat. He has a combined WAR of 2, so that's why I have him sitting there. He's not necessarily the best pitcher out of the bunch, but he's definitely one that needs to be a part of this conversation, and that's why he is there. Take a look at our relievers. Starting things off is I believe. There you go. It is alphabetical. Perfect. I was like, always wondering what order this was in. Tyler Duffy with a 2-1 record as a reliever, 3.3 ERA, 1.10 WHIP, 11.7 Ks per 9, a 1.0 WAR. This isn't really one of my biggest, like, he absolutely deserves, but there's not many relievers here that are like completely showing off everyone. So Tyler Duffy is kind of in there by default. Next to him, here's actually, I'm going to take back what I just said. Liam Hendricks is having a fantastic start here. 2-2 record, 15 saves, 1.59 ERA, 1.0 WHIP, 10.3 Ks per 9. He's having a good start to his year as well. After that would be Mr. Pete Fairbanks over in Tampa Bay of the AL East leading Rays. 3-0, 1.21 ERA, 7.2 WHIP, 14.1 strikeouts per 9, and his WAR is just under 1. Absolutely deserves. Take a look at our catchers. Now, I mentioned earlier I'm going to talk about Pedro Severino again. This is why. I understand Pedro Severino. If you're looking at everything here, there's someone on this list that absolutely deserves it and is going to get the All-Star nod for sure. But I have to get my guy in there. This is actually my only Orioles pick, Pedro Severino. He's got a pretty good weighted runs counted plus 1.3 WAR, I believe, if I remember right just now. He leads the team. Slashing 318, 382, 435. Not bad at all. His power numbers aren't there, but Sam Huff absolutely deserves this. Just check this out. This slash line, 4 home runs, that 157 weighted runs counted plus. He deserves it, but Severino's going to be my guy for this one. Looking at first base for the American League, Jose Abreu, it's not even close. Look at this slash line. He's just under 1,000, 11 home runs. He even has a stolen bases. WAR is almost at 3 at this point in the season. 162 weighted runs counted plus. Absolutely needed to be in there. Second base, DJ LeMahieu of the New York Yankees. Again, doing pretty well here. This one was a closer one, but still, I'm going to have to pick LeMahieu. 276 average. May not be the greatest on this list, but he's got a pretty decent slugging percentage. All right, third base, take a look at Jose Ramirez. I don't know if anyone's having a better season than he is right now. 311 average, 418 on base, 632 slugging. He's over 1,000 OPS, 14 home runs, a WAR of almost 4. WRC plus is of 172. League average is about 100 if memory serves correctly. And looking here it is. 50% is above league average. 172 is, yeah, you're in another realm at that point. So Jose Ramirez is your third baseman representative for the American League. Take a look at shortstop. This one could go either way. I'm going to show you a comparison here between Bo Bichette and Carlos Correa, and I want you to decide who you think should absolutely be the pick here. I already have who I'm going to be picking, but these two, I sat here for a while thinking, who is the better pick here? Bo Bichette hasn't played as much, but take a look at the hits. It's almost equal. Doubles in Bichette's favor, triples in Bichette's favor. The power numbers, this is where it starts going to Correa's favor. It's 14 home runs, 33 runs batted in, 45 runs. He's walked 35 times. His average is 317, 409, 596. OPS just above 1,000. However, I'm going to tell you right now, I ended up picking Bo Bichette here, and here's why. At-bats, nearly 50 less than Carlos Correa, has almost the exact amount of hits, has more doubles, has more triples. The power numbers necessarily aren't there, but those could come up with time. The runs, again, 30 versus 45 is not that bad. The walks here, this is the only point of concern I have between Bichette versus Correa. I can deal with the power numbers, but everything else is just phenomenal for the amount of games he's played thus far. Strikeouts, that's not bad either. He's got half of the strikeouts that Correa has in just less than 50 at-bats, separating the two. Slash line, again, this is phenomenally weighted for Bichette in terms of hitting. The on-base, again, we just kind of talked about the walks part, so that's kind of why this is so low in comparison with his average. And the slugging, if he walked more, this OPS would just be out of this world. And OPS plus, look at that, 162 versus 167. Considering everything you're seeing here, these are almost identical. Batting average of balls in play, Bichette's way higher. So, I mean, the luck is a little higher in Bichette's favor, too. And the WAR does go in Correa's favor. But, again, I'm picking Bichette here because I think over the entire season, Bichette's going to be your better player. At least with what I'm looking at here. Take a look at our left fielders here. And, again, this is going to be another thing I want to kind of compare and contrast here. Luplow with Michael Brantley. because these two kind of have similar reasons I would want to compare as we just did with Correa and Bichette. Let's take a look at their stats here. So almost the same amount of games played here, plate appearances, a little less for Jordan Luplow. At-bats, of course, a lot less. Hits, a little less as well. Doubles are about the same. Triples, almost the same. Home runs are in Luplow's favor. The RBIs, just barely in Luplow's favor. Brantley gets the run favor. The walks, however, starts going to Luplow's favor. Strikeouts, 56 versus 27. And then the average, and then the OPP, the slugging. And this is kind of where we start talking who deserves it more. Now, before I started recording this, I went through all of my picks here. And as I kind of went through this yet again, Luplow is who I was going to pick. Michael Brantley, however, seems a little more, should I go with him? I mean, if you want to look at it, the at-bats a lot less for Luplow, but he strikes out so much more. And the batting average reflects that. But the OBP, however, he still is getting on base. He is still slugging home runs. And his OPS is at 888. But who are you going to trust more? I'm changing my pick. I had Luplow, but the more I kind of analyze this, I think I'm going to have to pick Brantley. Just for the fact that I think I can trust Brantley at the plate in a much more dire situation than I can with Luplow. Take a look at our center field. As much as I want to pick Austin Hayes here, Byron Buxton is having an MVP caliber season. He is slashing 278, 328, 597. I would like to see that batting average a lot higher, but he is just crushing it right now. WAR of 3.4. 145 WRC plus is not bad, but he's also stealing 10 bags. So, Buxton's just all around a great player right now. And our right fielder of choice, this one's going to go down to Kansas City Royal Whit Merrifield. 170 WRC plus, fantastic. 594 slugging, 350 batting average. This is also an MVP caliber season. 2.4 WAR, doing extremely amazing. And then our designated hitter pick. This one is just by default, it's going to be Stanton here. 260 average, kind of lower. If we look at Stanton's career numbers, where that stands is kind of middle of the road for him. 288 2 years ago with New York. 250 last season in the shortened season, 260 right now. So he's kind of performing as you would expect him to. But that slash line eventually, 358 and then 611 slugging. He is just crushing. Take a look at our National League here. Probably should have did the National League first since we're in the American League, but let's go to the National League. Look at St. Louis Cardinal Jack Flaherty, 7-3, 2.23 ERA. A whip under 1 as a starter, 11 strikeouts per 9, a 2.1 WAR. He is doing fantastic. That's a Cy Young season if I ever seen one. Clayton Kershaw also doing pretty good, 6-1 record, 3.05 ERA, 119 whip, 8.4 Ks per 9. I think that's down typically from what he's used to, and it is. 12 point. Oh, that was Oakland. That was his AAA. 9.5, 9.6 is what he's typically at, but 1.6 WAR, not too bad at this point. Comparative with last season, his ERA plus is way down. But this is, when you talk about wins above replacement, it's almost the exact same season for him. But Kershaw is going to get the nod here. After that, Max Scherzer, 5-3, 2.74 ERA, 115 whip, 9.7 strikeouts per 9. And this is where, take a look at Nola above him, who is doing a little better in some of the comparative stats here, but those wins above replacement, that's a huge stat right there. This means he's going to give you more wins than Nola on average. Look at our relievers. Take a look at Adrian Morejon from the Padres, 6-1. He's saved 5 games, 1.26 ERA, 43 innings pitched, a 77 whip, 11.7 strikeouts per 9, and a 1.4 ERA, WAR. After that, we go to Will Smith, all the way down here for the Atlanta Braves. He's 1-2, but he's got a 2.56 ERA, 1.04 whip, 11.4 strikeouts per 9, and 1.1 WAR. And kind of like the American League, the relievers aren't going to be lighting my radar up right now. Take a look at our last reliever. It's Mitch White of the Dodgers, a 1.96 ERA, a 115 whip, almost 12 strikeouts per 9, and a 0.2 WAR. This could have gone either way with him or Topa, but I'm going to pick Mitch White here, who is giving up a little less runs. Take a look at our catchers. This one wasn't even close. This is JT Realmuto. 614 slugging. Having a fantastic year, just under 1,000 OPS, 17 home runs, 2.5 WAR. He's the nod here. First baseman. This one was tough because a little homerness got into me here. Take a look at Pete Alonso with the man I am at the very least going to be picking here. Let's do a little more in-depth analysis here with Anthony Rizzo. Alonso's going to be your bigger power threat by far. But the games here, Rizzo's played in a lot less games, and just take a look at the stats here. Rizzo has just 10 less hits and 50 less at-bats, has 5 more doubles, has the same amount of triples, just half the amount of home runs. So Rizzo has 8 home runs versus Alonso's 16, but again, a lot less at-bats. 23 RBIs versus 38 from Alonso. Runs are almost equal. Walks are almost equal, and strikeouts are fairly different. I mean, when it comes to who am I going to trust more, it's going to be Rizzo. 317 average, OBP of 391, almost 400. Slugging is pretty closely identical, so this would assume that if Rizzo had a full amount of games in him as much as Alonso did, you probably see that home run and RBI total a little closer to each other. OPS plus, Rizzo even has that in his favor, so the OPS overall, 969 versus 915. Rizzo gets my nod here, but that's just so you can see why I'm going with Rizzo versus Pete Alonso, who's having a pretty good year too. And I'd be very surprised if Alonso doesn't make the All-Star team. Look at our second baseman, and I talking about him later. Jeff McNeil having a great year, 363 average, 424 on base, 567 slugging. So he's got 8 home runs, 3 stolen bases, 177 weighted runs counted plus, and 2.4 for his WAR. Take a look at our shortstops. Trevor Story here. 328 average. I mean, you compare with Corey Seager here. This was kind of like, who am I going to pick here between these two? I just wanted to pick Story here. That's it. I mean, Story's a little quicker on the base pass. It's really neck and neck. This could go either way. All right, again, this is kind of a homer pick. If we're going to be truly honest with ourselves, I think Corey Dickerson deserves this. He's having a pretty good year. But I'm going to go with Jock Peterson. Peterson, I think, is arguable in this exact spot. Obviously, he's hitting a little less better here than Dickerson. Dickerson's having a much more comfortable season. But Peterson, despite having an average that you would expect out of him, he's still getting on base almost as much as Dickerson. While slugging's a little down, he's still producing 13 home runs just as much as Dickerson and 30 less at-bats. So good season for Peterson so far. I'm going to pick him. I know Dickerson probably will end up getting him, but let's go with Peterson. This one I'm kind of proud to see here. So Christian Patch is going to get the All-Star nod from me from the Atlanta Braves, a rookie. He is hitting 314, on base of 351, slugging 576, 12 home runs, 4 stolen bags, 146 WRC plus, and a WAR of 3.1. I want to say that might lead the National League. It might be close. And then this one is a close one too. Juan Soto and Ronald Acuna Jr. would be my first 2 picks here. I think Acuna Jr. is just the more dynamic player, and I think he's the more flexible player, and that's who we're going to end up picking here. And we're going to submit our ballot. Missing third base for National League. I guess I missed one. I did. I skipped over him. Okay. Justin Turner is my pick for the third baseman in the National League. He's got 305 average, 376, 551, 15 dingers, 3 stolen bases. He's getting it. Submit our ballot here. And then let's take a look at the voting, because we did just get the notification about it. That's where voting stands. Where'd it go? There we go. Okay, now we're scrolling up. Okay. American League. So who we picked at catcher, Pedro Severino, obviously, and Sam Hubb. Wow. Not even that conversation at all. Abreu, he matches who we picked. LeMahieu picks, that's who we had. Jose Ramirez, that's who we had as well. Chapman was also someone I had considered as well, but Ramirez is just having a fantastic year. This one I don't necessarily agree with. Shortstop, they have Tim Anderson. I think Bo Bichette deserves this by far. Be interesting how that goes. Take a look at left field. Again, my 2 choices here are Luplow and Brantley. I had Luplow initially, and then I switched it to Brantley while we were recording this. Brantley, that matches as well. Trout, if this is going with fan voting, which it is, Trout is the popular one, which makes sense, but Buxton is having a great season. Deserves it more. Whit Merrifield, that matches what we picked there. Stanton matches our DH pick. And then our starting pitchers, we got 2 of them. Nope, all 3. We have 3 of the 5 here, so this works out. I had Giolito, Cole, and Ohtani, so that makes sense, and we're good there. Take a look at the National League. See how close we were here. JT Realmuto, that's who we picked. I picked Rizzo over Alonso, not Freeman. So what's Freeman doing? Freeman's having a good season too. Jeff McNeil, yes, he absolutely deserves that. I got Justin Turner over Machado, and wow, that vote's separated by 21 votes. So that one's going to come down to the final. Tatis is having a good season. I had Trevor Story, so he's not even in the top 3. Like I said, Dickerson deserves it more. I just said this. But I still picked Peterson. Center fielder, Christian Patch. He's not even on here. That hurts me, man. I don't like that. He deserves it. Ronald Acuna Jr., I said between Acuna and Soto, and I picked Acuna, and that worked out for me in terms of being like-minded. Starting pitchers, I picked Flaherty, Scherzer, and Kershaw. Kershaw's not on that list. DeGrom, Nola, and I mentioned Nola too. But Nola, I believe I compared with Scherzer, if I remember right. And Sonny Gray. And the relievers, we got Morjan, which is who we picked as our number 1. And they got Wheeler, Elledge, Kim, and then Jansen. And I didn't have any of those others. So, I mean, pretty similar for the most part. But what do you guys think of the All-Star selections thus far? Do you think did I make good arguments here? Do you think the fan voting is just crazy from what I've shown you? You let me know in the comment section down below. Again, we'll be back with the first game against the Rays. We're struggling, but this is the fun stuff. We get to talk about the All-Star game and stuff like that. We're going to play that Rays game in the next one, and then we're probably going to simulate up to Game 1 against the Blue Jays. That's what we're going to do. So we're going to simulate all the way up to the Blue Jays series after that one. Not this one, but the one later. And hopefully our team makes some good moves. We'll make some moves off screen in the meantime. But again, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and share this with an Orioles fan or someone who might be interested in out-of-the-park baseball. And you can show them how all-star games work in this game. And we will play the all-star game too. So I do want to see how this works in OOTP 22. And we'll play that. So in the meantime, if you haven't already, like, share, subscribe. All right. Have a good one. Have a good weekend. We'll see you Monday.